Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're looking at a man whose words were so powerful, they literally summoned gods and shifted rivers. No, really, we're diving deep into the myth, the magic, and the absolute mastery of the legendary 14th century poet Vidyapati. So picture this for a second. Imagine you hire a new helper for your house, right? And it turns out that helper is actually the supreme lord of the universe, just hanging out in disguise. For most of us, that's just a crazy fantasy. But for Vidyapati, this wasn't hypothetical at all. It actually became the defining legend of his entire life.
Section 1. The Poet and the Myth.
Okay, so before we get into the wild legends about disguised gods, let's look at who this guy actually was. Born around 1360 in the village of Bispi, that's in present-day Bihar, Vidyapati grew up right in the middle of royal courts. And he was brilliant. So undeniably brilliant that by the year 1400, King Shiva Simha literally gave him his own home village, entirely rent-free. They even etched this massive honor onto a copper plate, cementing his elite status way before he passed away around 1448.
Now, a big part of his prestige came from a pretty revolutionary choice. Instead of just sticking to formal Sanskrit, he completely championed the regional vernacular language. His writing was so incredibly melodic that people gave him this beautiful title, Meto Kavi Kokyo, which basically translates to the poet cuckoo of Maithili. And honestly, this genius use of local language is exactly why he is known today as the father of Bengali literature. He went on to profoundly influence massive cultural icons later on, like Rabindranath Tagore.
Section 2. Lord Shiva's Secret Servant. Let's see how this real-world mastery builds into one of the absolute most fascinating tales of devotion in all of South Asian folklore. The story goes that Vidyapati was a fiercely devoted worshipper of Lord Shiva, and Shiva was so deeply moved by this devotion that the god of destruction literally became a humble household servant. He disguised himself as a poor man named Ugna, with one strict condition: his true identity had to remain an absolute secret. So, employed for just 2 meals a day, Ugna is traveling with Vidyapati through a dense forest. Vidyapati gets unbearably thirsty. So what does Ugna do? He just steps away and miraculously produces pure Ganga water directly from his matted locks. One sip, and Vidyapati instantly knew. He knew this was Shiva. But, keeping a massive secret like that from your own household? Not exactly easy. One day, Vidyapati's short-tempered wife got mad over a kitchen mistake and actually struck the servant with a piece of burning firewood. Horrified, Vidyapati instinctively yelled out to stop her, shouting, "What great sin are you committing? He is none other than Bhagavan himself." And just like that, the promise was broken and Shiva instantly vanished.
Vidyapati was completely heartbroken. He wandered the whole region like a madman, just crying out for his lord. And unable to bear his devotees' agony, Shiva actually reappeared. But this time, not as a servant. He manifested as a Swayambhu, a self-manifested Shiva Linga. And the magic of that exact moment, it is literally still alive today. Down at the Ugna temple in Bhavanipur, devotees physically descend 6 steps, about 5 feet below the surface of the earth, just to worship this exact sacred linga.
Section 3. Pioneer of the Vernacular.
So we've heard the incredible myth, right? But what was it about his actual poetry that gave it such divine gravity? Well, he lived this fascinating double life as a writer. On one hand, he's writing these formal, epic poems in Sanskrit, all about praising kings and courtly life. But on the other hand, he's crafting these profound, rustic devotionals in the local Maithili language, right for the common people.
And this split was a total game changer. By keeping Sanskrit for the royalty and using Maithili for everyday folks, with works like his famous Padavali and Nakariyas, he sparked a massive cultural shift. He basically took the daily chores and rural romances of everyday India and gave them this immense spiritual weight. His vernacular poems about Radha and Krishna, they weren't just simple love songs. They were these profound, beautiful allegories for the human soul yearning for the divine. And hey, this isn't just ancient history sitting on a dusty shelf somewhere. His linguistic breakthroughs are literally a cornerstone of education right now. Just look at these modern handwritten study notes. Students today are still actively studying and being tested on his use of Mathatali in the Padavali. Here's another set of student notes meticulously cataloging his massive body of work across all these different languages. It's real proof that his texts are a living, breathing part of modern curriculums. They're being memorized and revered centuries after he first put pen to paper.
Section 4. The River Comes Calling. As we get to the end of his life, the mythology around his immense spiritual faith pops up one final incredible time. As Vidyapati neared death, he started this deeply sacred final journey, on foot, toward the holy Ganges River. But he was exhausted. He collapsed just 3 miles short of the banks. Instead of giving up, though, he threw down a challenge to the universe. He declared that if his lifelong devotion was pure, Mother Ganga would come to him. And according to the legend, the river magically divided. It literally changed its physical course just to wash over his feet, granting him his final liberation.
That exact spot where he attained nirvana is now known as Vidyapati Dham in Samastipur, and it is a massive pilgrimage destination. Thousands of people gather there to offer Jalabhisheka, which is a sacred ritual of pouring water over the deity. The state government of Bihar even hosts an annual 3-day grand festival to recognize his enduring impact.
Section 5. Monuments to a Maestro.
It's one thing to read about history. It's another entirely to see it being physically built into the modern landscape. To make sure his memory never fades, the Bihar government recently approved a massive 20 crore rupee budget. That is a huge investment. This funding is going to totally transform his previously neglected birthplace in Bisfi into a thriving cultural hub, complete with a brand new library, a theater, and an auditorium.
And honestly, they aren't stopping there. There's also a 4 crore rupee proposal aiming to build a staggering 111-foot tall statue of the poet. And because it's going to be placed on a 16-foot mound, it will tower 127 feet over his home village. It's going to be this spectacular visual testament to just how deeply revered this 14th century master remains today.
Vidyapati was so much more than just a writer. He was a visionary. He brought the divine right into the everyday language of the people, leaving behind a legacy that literally shifted rivers and summoned gods. So I want to leave you with this question to think about. If a poet's words can bring the gods to his doorstep, are they merely words or are they magic? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep exploring.